RJ is someone that I have basically grown up watch playing basketball. RJ is currently a professional basketball for Rytas Vilnius, where he is the 2024 Lithuanian League champion. Before this, RJ has played in numerous historical programs such as the LA Lakers Summer League, the Yukon Huskies, Howard Bison, and the St. Anthony Friars. Aside from basketball, RJ has also owns a successful clothing brand named Cold Blooded. I am very excited to talk to RJ today. Thanks for coming, bro.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, man, I just wanted to start it off with like your basketball journey. Where did you begin playing and how old were you?
I started playing when I was 3 years old. And I was playing in like the St. Rocco's League in Newark, where everybody they call it Pass. So that's where my journey started. So with Paul and all of them, it was good vibes. I really appreciated them. I think they're the ones that like pushed me to in a direction where I knew I wanted to be going.
Was basketball your first sport or your only sport growing up or that was
No, I was a dual sport, basketball and football. I decided to stop playing football probably in I want to say like sixth grade, seventh grade or something like that. And I was just it became basketball, and that's the only thing I focused on.
but like the sixth grade, that's when you started realizing you could be pretty good at basketball and then you was like, I'll take it more serious.
Um, I think honestly, I feel like I was a little bit earlier with knowing how good I could be in basketball. I think I like realized it when I was 8 years old because I was playing a year or two up, and the teammates that I had, obviously they were older than me, but like they were, and we're all still like good friends now. But like they'll even tell you like they were gravitating towards me. Like I was the youngest player on the team, and they kept giving me the ball. And then the other teams were double teaming me, triple teaming me. So I felt like at a really young age, I knew that basketball was definitely going to be something special for me.
And those teammates you had, that was on the AAU team with the Faces, right?
Yeah, yeah, faces, yeah.
That was who was the coaches back your coaches back then? Brian Brown was a part of that?
Yeah, so his dad was Brian Brown was just obviously and his dad too. Um but my dad was a coach, Shaquan Gibbs, his father, Sheldon Gibbs. Um and those are our main two coaches. And then like obviously when we had like other teams, my sister would coach like the older team and everything else. But for the most part, the two main coaches were my dad and Sheldon Gibbs.
And you played with them all the way through to eighth grade?
Yeah, I stopped since when I forgot how old I think 7. Yeah, 7 when I started playing on my dad's like faces AU team 6, something like that. And I played from 6 all the way up until 13 maybe. I stopped playing in eighth grade because all of my teammates that I played with were a year older than me, so they all went to high school and they played on the circuit team. So I had to find other AU teams after that.
What what AAU team was that new one that you ended up playing for?
I started out. That was a tricky year for me because that was my first time, not playing with faces. So I want to say I first went to the Players for a little bit, and then I went to Jersey City Boys Club. Uh, I had a stint like I played like a tournament with Team Scan. I also played with Sports U, but I played a year up. I was playing 15U for Sports U. So yeah, I had like four or five teams that here before I finally figure out what I wanted to do, and players ended up just being my like main team after that year.
Yeah, with those like them AAU games, you probably were getting a lot of high school attention, right? Like this program wanted you. I know St. Anthony's was interested, North Tech was interested. What made you make a decision to end up going to North Tech?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was always so at a young age, all my friends, the same kids I was playing with, faces, we all had the same dream of going to play at St. Anthony for high school.
Hmm.
Obviously, for me, it was going to be a little bit later because I was a year younger than everyone. Um, but my dad was also an assistant coach at North Tech at the time, so I would always be around the team. Coach Joe Jordan, he obviously took a liking to my game. And it's crazy. Funny story is that I actually was enrolled into St. Anthony's for the first day of school, and instead of showing up, I went to North Tech's first day of school instead. So yeah, just having the opportunity. Honestly, what it came down to was just having the opportunity to play varsity basketball as a freshman. I wanted the chance to to go out there and show what I can do at a high level.
Yeah, I remember my brother went to North Tech.
Yeah.
Jamal, my brother,
Hmm.
he was coached by your dad. So he was saying that the JV practices, RJ used to come in there young as hell. He used to be all right. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
Yeah, man, that's good that you went there as a freshman though. You didn't you probably would have played JV at St. Anthony's.
I mean, St. Anthony's was one of those like crazy programs where like you never know. Like they have freshman, JV, and varsity. So like could have been a possibility I could have been playing on the freshman team. And it's just like not a knock to anyone, playing the freshman team, but like that's just not somewhere that I felt like I want to play. So I feel like having the opportunity to go play for North Tech as a freshman playing varsity, I think that was going to help my game more than anything.
And so what was your experience once you started playing at North Tech? I know you had a couple big games, right? I think you played well against Linden. Uh,
Yeah.
they probably state champions that year. Uh,
Yes, yeah, we were state champions that year. It's crazy. We were back to back champions. So obviously that year before I was in that eighth grade year, I was able to watch, everyone they had. The year before it was definitely nice to be a part of like the bus rides that they had going on. But yeah, the next year I just knew what I wanted to do and having the opportunity to like practice with them throughout the season. So I was able to, form a relationship with all of them early on. And we all had the same, common goal, just wanting to go out there and win. Um, and I feel like it was a pretty smooth transition. I played up my whole life, so it was, the only difference was just maybe physicality, trying to get used to that. But for me, it was another day of playing basketball, getting out of love. So like, no matter what a team threw at me, I felt like I was going to be good regardless. And I think that was a fun year because we all wanted to win, and it wasn't easy. We had like a tough road to get to the state championship. But it worked out. We came back to back champ.
right. And then after you came off the championship, man, and you was like and the season ended. You were tournament of champions after that, right?
Yeah.
And then the season ended. Did you know right away, all right, I'm about to go to St. Anthony's after this?
No, I honestly thought I was going to go back to North Tech for my sophomore year. That was the goal. I was supposed to be there for at least 2 years, right? I was just go back there, play again, and, have another opportunity to play for a third championship. Um, but I was in Georgia for Peach Jam with the players, and this is the year that Isaiah Briscoe and them won the title. So we were there. I was watching, and we were playing in the 15U Peach Jam. So I had got a call on the way to one of the games. And before this, actually, I was like playing in summer league games with North Tech. So like I was thinking I was playing with them the whole season and going into the next season. So on the call. I get a call from my parents, and they're like, "We just had a meeting with Coach Hurley. You're going to St. Anthony's." And I was just like, "They're like, are you okay with that?" Obviously, my answer was like, "Yeah," but part of me was kind of like, "Dang, like I wanted to have a chance to go back, and run it back one more time." But ultimately, again, like St. Anthony was my goal, so I felt like that was something that was necessary. So I went with that, and it was a good decision for us for sure.
Did you start working out right away with them, or like maybe that summer you started working out, or you had to wait till you got into school and all that stuff?
That summer, so I want to say after Peach Jam, Coach Hurley always had like open gym, what they would call open gym in the summertime. So I would just go there during the week every day, work out with them, and then obviously the season started that next school year.
Did you notice the different, like a different level of intensity, or was it kind of the same? You coming from a championship program, but was it a different level once you got to Coach Hurley?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a different level. It's funny because my first like real interaction of like playing with them was like that fall. We played in fall ball in Patterson, Jimmy Salmon's league. Um, we were playing against St. Pat's, and this is the only time where I can admit like that someone actually like was killing me. And we were playing against St. Pat's, and Bryce Aiken, he was really like killing me. And I'm like, yo, I'm trying to figure it out. Obviously St. Coach Hurley, like he's big on defense. Um, and my teammates were like, Coach Hurley is sitting on the side and he's watching the game, and my teammates are like, "Yo, like, can we switch? Like, can I guard him, whatever?" And he looked and he said, "No, like he has to guard him." So basically, it's just like he told me if I'm not going to play defense, I did again. He told me if I'm not going to play any defense, I'm not going to play. Right. So like that whole mind shift for me, like had it not that I didn't play defense, it was just something that wasn't like I don't even know how to say it. It wasn't a burning sensation for me like on defensive end, where it was like I gotta get this stop. It was more like, all right, if you score, I'm coming back down and scoring. So like we gonna keep playing this game where if you score, I'm gonna score.
Right.
But like now I had to really realize that like, it's gonna take more than just, offense to win games for sure.
And then that sophomore year, you started right, and you played a lot of in a lot of big games, but then and you guys didn't end up winning the state championship. I don't believe you lost
Mm-mm.
to Rosette Catholic, but that following year, you guys end up winning the whole thing, and you were a little bit older. How did you probably one of the older guys on the team now? How,
Yeah.
uh, what was the your first time realizing like, okay, I'm an older guy. I kind of have a even though you had some of the other seniors, like, oh, I'm in a little bit of a leadership role here. How did you adjust to that?
Uh, I think I noticed it. It's funny because I noticed more. I noticed it more a little bit in my sophomore year actually. Like later into my sophomore year, I didn't start right away. My sophomore year actually too. I probably like the first like 5 or 6 games I came off the bench, and then after that I started starting for the rest of that sophomore year. But it was just one game in particular where I knew going forward I would have a huge role, a leadership role in the team, especially being a point guard. But just from Coach Hurley, we played against St. Pat's, crazy. Played against St. Pat's again at the Armory my sophomore year, and you Hurley isn't like he's not huge on giving people ISOs. Like he plays team basketball. Like, and there was one I forget who was in front of me. It might have been a big or whoever. He went right in front of the bench, and you could see him like literally wave everybody away and was like play.
Right.
And back in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, like cool, like I scored, and then like going from there, I just knew I was like, okay, this is something he sees something in me that like maybe I don't see in myself, and like with that, I think going into that junior year definitely was a huge confidence booster. Knowing that I'm a year older, I have a little bit more experience, and I know what is expected from coach, so I know how to adapt and what role to embrace. And we had I want to say like that year was like we had a great team. I think my junior year we were 32-0. So it was just like we basically had two starting fives. There was honestly like no one in the country could guard us. And I just think that we all carry that swagger. But yeah, no, I want to say from sophomore year, definitely going into my junior year, I realized that I would definitely have a leadership role for him for sure.
I think like my freshman year coming in, I saw you guys playing. That was your junior year because y'all
Yeah,
your junior year. I came in and this was like my first time really having my eyes to see like a bunch of D1 guys, a bunch of really good guys. I think you guys end up being like fourth in the country that year or something
yeah,
like.
fourth in the country. Yeah,
And you got, I'm like every day, I'm like, damn, I'm staying for the practices, watching this like high intensity basketball. Man, that was something that really changed my life because I'm like, I'm watching, I'm learning every single day, and that was that was big time for me. But then that next year, after you guys had all those people and all those high level guys, a lot of the guys ended up graduating or transferring, and your role expanded like
yeah,
probably to a level nobody in St. Anthony has ever had. You know what I mean?
for
How did you
sure.
like that?
And that senior year it kind of like gives me goosebumps a little because I want to say I knew that my role was going to be huge going in. Obviously I knew I was capable of. Um, but I just think like it's a different level. You play with a different level of confidence when a Hall of Fame coach allows you the space and freedom to do what you want, right? Like it's not something that I'm used that anyone's used to. You don't like you said, you don't see that from Coach Hurley everywhere. Like so like I was great. Like once he told me the ball was in my hands, like we're playing through you, like it didn't click until like the ball went up finally and we were like playing. I was just like, okay, yeah, like this is gonna be I'm gonna run the show. Um, but yeah, I mean, he just gave me the confidence, the space, and freedom to do it to do what I love, basically. He knew what I was capable of, and like I said, it's not a lot of coaches that can give you that confidence nowadays. And I'm happy that he brought that side out of me because I think a huge part of that senior year shaped me to moving forward to my next endeavors. Because I think without this confidence and just that year, I don't think I would have had that same confidence going into my freshman year of college.
Was that experience for you like frustrating? Because I'm pretty sure you started to see the same things like when you went to college.
Yeah,
That's probably one of the first times that you were seeing like everybody was focused on you. You know what I mean? Especially when
yeah,
you came back or came to the team, it probably was real hard to manage.
yeah. No, it was definitely tough, especially early on in the season, and then obviously later in the season, it got a little bit tougher just because um once you're the focal point, it's hard to it's hard to kind of get around that. It's more on your teammates to pick up their load and help out as much as they can, obviously. But I mean, I think it got me ready, for my next steps. It was definitely tough because we don't usually lose to Hudson Catholic, right? And that was the last game where it was just like you can see the Hudson Cathod's game plan was to make me tired, deny me the whole game, try to do anything possible to get the ball in my hands and let the other team, I mean the rest of my teammates beat them, which was their game plan. And as you can see, it worked. Obviously, it sucked to lose to Hudson Catholic, in that stage. But it definitely is something that caught up to us in the end of the season for sure.
Yeah, like seeing that game just from the bench, because I really wasn't playing too much. I just got called.
Yeah.
Like watching from the bench, I'm seeing them pick you up full court, deny you,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got to go on the other end. You got to guard one
And
of
I
the
got
best
to
players
defend.
in the country. And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, like Archie's doing a lot. And I was talking to some people after the game, like, yo, he did so much for that team, and it was a lot. It was a lot. But then once you got to college, you had probably a very similar role where you had to carry a lot of the load. You're like one of the leading scorers as a freshman in the country.
Yeah.
Was it 700 something points over your time?
Yeah, 782 my first year. Yeah,
That's a lot of points, man. That's
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
points
points.
for sure.
How did how did you adjust to the college game and knowing like, okay, damn, I'm the man again, you know what I mean?
Um, it's that's like a I like that. I like this story just because I felt like I was wanted and that was where like that was my calling. I feel like Howard was my calling. Um, it was funny because when they were recruiting me, that was my first offer. Um, and when they were recruiting me, I had no idea that Howard had a basketball team, right? So it was just like I went to a game with my parents. They played Rutgers, and I'm just like, "What is this? Like, who? Like, you know what I mean? What am I about to get myself into if I go here?" But the coach, he also had a point guard named James Bird. That year that I was watching, he led the country in scoring. He was averaging 30 a game. I think it was like 29 and a half or something like that. So 30 a game. And it's like watching that for me, it's like, okay, I either have a potential to play with that same dude, or he's gonna leave if he does because he had a good year, and I'm gonna be able to fill that role. And then the Coach Kevin Nickelberry, he literally like came to every single like AAU tournament. Like, if he didn't come, he missed one tournament and he sent his assistant, and it was just like I knew that's where I wanted to go because he never gave up on me. Like literally, he's calling my parents, like at every game, coming to my house to come visit. Like it's like you can see that he really wants me and he believes in me. I don't think he believed that I would have done what I did in those 2 years. But just him giving me that confidence to come here and tell me that the ball's in my hands, and being able to see it from someone else the year before, I think I was just going in, and also too, I had a chip on my shoulder, right? Because I personally felt like I was better than Howard. No disrespect to Howard, 'cause I'm happy I was able to have that platform there, but I felt like I should have had the UConns out of my out of my senior year, especially with the senior year I had, Seton Hall, those type of schools. Like I feel like I should have been up there early on, but it didn't happen that way. And I was happy that I had a platform for for my freshman year especially, because I think I opened up a lot of eyes to see what it is I could do on the court.
Going like that senior year, what kind of offers did you have coming out? Like, what did you choose Howard over? Like, what were some other schools?
Uh, Dang. I actually ended up. It's crazy. I didn't have my first offer until my senior year. And by the time I was finished, I probably had like 20 offers maybe, but they were all like mid-made. They were all mid-majors. They were all like Ivy Leagues and Patriot League. It was, obviously at the MEAC with Howard. But it was all smart schools, 'cause I was salutatorian in high school, so it was just basically all smart schools, academic schools. But my top five ended up being so I chose Howard over LIU Brooklyn where my dad went, um, Loyola Maryland, Monmouth, and Boston U. That was my top five. Howard obviously getting the top notch for me. But yeah, I mean, I was glad to finally get some recognition. It wasn't the schools that I would have liked, obviously, but it's better than having nothing.
For sure. And then once that those Howard seasons ended and you were playing so well, that recruiting list changed 100%
For
off the bat.
sure. Yeah, yeah. You can
What are some of the
imagine.
schools that you were interested in going to after that, or some of the schools calling?
Um, yeah, so right out of my sophomore year, we finished, and it's crazy because we had our first postseason nod for Howard men's in like since like 1992 or something like that. So that was cool. But yeah, as soon as I entered the portal, literally every school that I can think of in the country was calling almost. Obviously not the Dukes and Kentuckies, but some schools that were up there. But the first school was Alabama. Um, that was actually probably where I was going to commit. When I first got the call. UConn was two, Seton Hall three, and Arkansas was my fourth. And Arkansas had just got Coach Musselman from Nevada, so he's big on transfers, and they usually do pretty well with transfers. So that was a good top four for me. Two Big East schools and two SEC schools. So you can imagine the jump.
Yeah, I know you're going in with a lot of confidence, but it's not the same as the transfers today where you could go, you're getting all this NIL and then you
Yeah,
playing right away.
for
Like
sure.
the difference when you had to sit, did you mind the sitting time or that period or how was that adjustment for you once you ended up committing to UConn and you had to sit that whole year?
It's tough, right? Because like you one, as a competitor, you always want to be able to play, and contribute, and no matter how what, no matter in any way to win. So that was the toughest part, just being able to. But I was actually happy because I was able to watch the difference in levels of conferences or where I played at because I think that year they were in the American Conference before they went to the Big East, which was the first year I played again. But yeah, so just being able to watch the difference in physicality, the difference in like brand of basketball it was a little bit faster at the higher level. Um, and I think I became more comfortable with it just because I was able to work on my game the whole year. You have a facility where you can get in 24/7. I wear my body. Like I was like 175 when I left Howard. And that whole year working out, I got to 200. Obviously, 200 is like crazy
Yeah,
for
right.
me. But like just to be able to see that I was able to even transform myself, like I was like, okay, like I liked it. You know what I mean? But obviously, I had to lose that weight because that was too much. But I definitely became more comfortable with knowing that you're giving somebody a whole year to watch and learn from the team and the coaches and seeing what they like and then having a chance to practice against that every day too. And you're telling me I get to work on my body and my game and for a whole year with no limitations. Like I was actually on top of the world in a way. So it was a uh good lessons for me for sure from setting out.
Once you So they ended up switching to the Big East your first year. Did you know that they were going to the Big East, and that was really one of the reasons that you end up going there?
Yeah, so and that was a part of my recruiting pitch, that we were going back to the Big East. So obviously, when as a young kid, the old Big East, Pittsburgh and Louisville, all of them. Obviously, not the same Big East today, but like still, Big East basketball is Big East basketball. So definitely that was a huge part of why I committed to go back to go to UConn for sure.
And was the Hurley thing any connection for you? And that take any place?
Yeah, yeah, no, it was obviously that was a huge part of why I went. I mean, there's a multitude of things, three things for me. Dream school since I was 10, 11 years old. Um, Hurley and his dad, that's like night and day. It's like why would I not play for someone who I have a like family connection. I look at the Hurley as my family, since high school. So why would I not, choose family over, anything else? And then also too, Kamani Young, he's an assistant. We played on the grassroots levels where he was at New Heights before he's a college coach. So like just having that connection, and then just knowing that like UConn is a brand that's like known for winning, right? And I like to think of myself as someone who is a winner. I played for St. Anthony's. I won a championship. I played for North Tech. I won a championship. So at the time, UConn wasn't the relevant UConn that it used to be. Right. I think they hadn't made a tournament since like 2016 by the time I got there. So I just wanted to be able to have a chance to be a part of being able to put UConn back, on the map to where the national highlight where it's at today.
And so if you compare the two, the dad and the son, what would you say the biggest similarity and then the biggest difference is?
Um, Many people like to say that that we got the version from Hurley at Coach Hurley at St. Anthony's that it was a little bit like more mellow. He was a little bit watered down. Um, but I would say similarity is just being basketball fanatics. Just constantly knowing the game, constantly watching the game, um, and how they are both similar in being like perfectionists. Like they want it to be a certain way, and it has to be that way. Like their attention to detail is like spot on. Obviously they're the same and like yelling, the antics, like it was all there. Um, but the differences, I mean, only for me, the only difference I probably could say is that one was older, one was younger. It was just like they was like they spit an image of each other, like So, but I definitely I was grateful to have the relationship that I did have with them. And I was happy to have the opportunity to play for both of them for sure.
And after that, that year where you had to sit out, the next year, I think you guys had COVID happen, right? Like maybe it was toward the end of the year.
Yeah, so that year that I sat out, COVID had just hit that year so that they were in the American Conference. They were getting ready to go play their first game in the tournament, and they were on a roll, so like they could potentially have won the American Conference. But yeah, the season got canceled for everyone for all their tournaments, and then that next year, which we back to the Big East, was my first year. It was still COVID, but it was like you can play, but if you get COVID, then like your season stops. And then if you can play with fans, but like it'll only be friends and family. So it was just like arena's empty. It was super super weird. Like that was a weird year.
Were you guys up there on campus by yourself, or like maybe probably isolated, right? For sure.
Yeah, it was just us, no regular students. So like every sports team basically. But like we all have our own area. Um, but yeah, no, like literally just sports, no regular students. Like we can't like go anywhere. Like we can't come in contact with anyone from outside of like what they call our bubble. It was like it was terrible. It was a cool experience, like just to see what that was like as far as being in the bubble. You had the NBA bubble, so everyone, but like being in it, no, it wasn't fun for sure.
You guys had a pretty decent year that year, right? And
Yeah.
you guys made it to the NCAA tournament, and that was in a bubble, right? Correct.
Yes, yeah, it was same thing, but they kind of opened it up a little bit. during the NCAA tournament that year, they allowed like way more fans to come in. Obviously, that was our first time going back to a tournament since 2016. We lost the first round. I think we lost to Maryland first round. But like that whole year was just like funky. So it was, I mean, it was a blessing to even like have an opportunity to be there, you know. So
And the following year, you guys lose book night. You guys lose some other senior guys and important pieces, and you took that leadership role on again. End up being first team All Big East. And how would you say that year went for you? And what were some of the ups and the downs and things you went through that year?
I want to say, yeah, that year was similar to like my senior year in college in high school. The production not maybe not have been the same as far as the points and everything, but I mean I would think I was averaging like 15 or 16 my senior year at UConn. But it was a good year. I think for me going into that year, my only mindset was winning and putting myself in a position that I wouldn't have to come back to school, right? I had already, this was my fifth year of school, but my fourth year of playing. Like, as you can imagine, 5 years of school, you can imagine I was probably tired of it, you know, right? So, like, I was just ready to go in that sense. But I was so locked in on the basketball side that I wanted to do whatever it was to get us a win. So, if it was a night where we had players who wasn't, doing well for us, I picked up the slack for everyone, and I would go on my days where I would have 25. Um, Defensively, I wanted to guard the best player all the time. Um, yeah, I just think I just was so locked in that year. It's just like the leadership role that they gave me. It was a huge leadership role that I had to take on with them for that last year. But yeah, it just came down to like winning the will to win and having an opportunity to put myself in a position to better my future.
I remember when you guys played against Villanova. I think it might have been at UConn, right? And you guys,
The last one, when the one time we won, right?
yeah, and you
Yeah,
hadn't beat them in a very long time, man. And
yeah.
it's me and a couple of my friends in Westchester University. We all in the dorm just watching the game, man. And I see you come off like all the way around and get a pick and
Hmm.
roll layup game winner. How was that feeling? To just some Big East battles and being able to come out on top and know like, oh, I'm a real player in the Big East.
Shout out Kamani, man. Shout out
Yeah,
Kamani Young
right.
because he's the one. We kind of it's funny because we actually messed up that play like big time. But obviously the play was for me to get the ball. So I mean it worked itself out. But yeah, no, shout out Kamani. He's the one. Like as soon as we got into that moment of the game, it was kind of like who should we put the ball in the hands of, and he knew like to give me the ball, you know. But no, it was huge, man, because like I think what many, especially UConn fans, would say like that game was what put UConn back on the map, right? It was just from there we knew that UConn was back. It wasn't a championship, but it was just a single game in the Big East on a freaking 9 p.m. where like it was like okay, UConn is back. But no, definitely like I just felt like that whole year I belonged, you know? Like I just wanted to show, I wanted to prove it. The year before I had my own growing pains. It was tough. My first year playing back again. It was a little bit different being the second option, like it wasn't, I had to get used to stuff like that, you know? But like my senior year, I just wanted to show that like I was here and I belonged in this moment, and to be playing in the Big East. So it was definitely a great time, just to experience that. I definitely am thankful.
All right, so after, the regular season, it's playoff time, and you guys make it to the NCAA tournament against New Mexico. Can you kind of describe that game? And obviously you guys lost, and what was the feeling like? It's like, damn, my college, it's like another step in my playing career is over. How did you feel about that?
Uh, yeah, it's kind of hard reliving that, uh, but it was tough, just because all year, we had like growing pains, and everyone was saying that we weren't as good as people thought. Um, and they'll say we can't score. So it was just we were just the narrative was always different all year. Um, I want to say for me personally, going into the end of that first half, I think I only had like 2 points, and like so I'm going in the locker room, and like coach is like going in on everyone. He's looking at me for everything, and he says something, and he's like he used to get mad at me for my faces. Like I just wouldn't have any facial expressions. I was just like I don't have nothing to like say or like do. I'm just let's go hoop. You know what I mean? I'm ready to go hoop. And he was just like looking at me like you're not gonna say anything. You're not gonna change your face. Like just looking like bro, like can we go hoop? Like like it's what I'm saying. Um, but I came out that second half for me. I knew like it's win or go home, right? So I think I finished like I had 18 in the second half, so I finished the game with 20. So like just from playing, like you can see on my like how I was like trying to will us to a win. Um, but yeah, we struggled. We had the opportunity to win. Um, we allowed one player to kill us. I think he had 37, Teddy Allen, which was fucking awful because the next game they played, they all fucking stunk it up. This is what I'm saying. Like it
Right.
sucks when you're like, I mean, people want to, beat you so bad that they're gonna have their best game against you no matter what, and then now you go play the next game and you fucking lay an egg.
Yeah, right.
But no, it was definitely tough knowing that that was my last year, but it's crazy because I still had an opportunity to go back. Because I had my COVID year left. And I contemplated, like, I forget how long I took to make my decision, but like honestly, after that game, I wanted to go back. Um, I just, I think eventually it became one of those things where, you know, how early on I talked about like my parents making the decision for me to go to St. Anthony. Like, it was kind of like no, like I can't say no. You know what I mean? I can't, do anything about that really. So I felt like for the first time in my life, I made a decision for me. Like going to Howard was a decision for me, but it also was a decision to make my mom happy, make my dad happy, because you know what I mean, because of what they were hearing and seeing. Like my mom wanted like the education and everything, like, and then going to UConn. Okay, it was another decision for me in a way, but at the same time, I had my mom, my dad in the back of my head where I'm like, all right, I want them to come to my games, so I'm going to make a decision to benefit the family. But now like it's finally where I was like, I want to go back. I would have went back if all of the coaches and myself had a conversation about what the NIL could potentially be. I definitely probably would have came back for sure. But yeah, I just think I finally made a decision for myself where it was just like mentally, I'm not in it for school. Basketball, if you would tell me to come back and I'm only hooping, like 100%, let's do it. Like I already had a degree. I already had like another like degree. So it's like I'm going to be in school for another year, wasting my time getting a third degree in something that I don't even care about, right? So it's just like if this is not strictly basketball and some kind of type of compensation is coming with this, then I'm not doing it. So I was just like, it's over. It's like for me, I said I did want to go back. So like it wasn't a thought yet that it was gonna be my last year, but eventually it became to that point where it was just like, yeah, this is it for me.
Yeah, it's time. It's definitely it was time to get paid. You've been in school,
Yeah,
man. So now you go to the professional level. I'm pretty sure you're getting hit up by a bunch of agents all year, and people want you to go here, do this, sign this. How was that adjust? Because now you have it's kind of different. You have people reaching out to you like, oh, I could do this for you, I could do that for you. How was that?
yeah.
How was that whole experience?
It was stressful. Because like basically you have to take people's word at this point. You don't really know them. They're coming out of left field. Random. So it's like you got to really dig deep and like trust someone's word. But I want to say for me, with my agency that I chose RZA Sports. Ronnie Zadell, he's a good guy. I chose him because one, this wasn't the first year that he talked to me. He was, brought up to me a year before as well. Um, and he constantly, stayed with me throughout the season and watch our games. And he was always hitting me up. It was like in my parents' ear. And just seeing how he does it as far as like he picks who he thinks deserves to be like in his good graces. Like he's more like a family oriented guy. He doesn't have like to have 10, 12 people for and picking up 12 people at the agency at one time for like one season. It's like he picks maybe two, three, maybe four guys where he feels like, he can be able to be at service if it's his best. Um, and so I think I just trust him on his word. I mean, I'm in year three right now, and they led me in some pretty good directions, so I can't complain. So yeah, it was stressful, but like I said, I think for me it was more so just going with my gut and being able to trust somebody that who's been constantly in my ear. It was kind of like college, with Howard, kind of he was just always there. So I definitely that's why I chose that route.
Definitely got you on in the right track, especially starting off, got you with the summer league with the Lakers. Just you went through this whole journey. You started off 3 years old and now you all the way, now you at the Lakers. I know that probably, or can you describe that moment for you? Because I know you probably like mind blown, like, wow, I really made it.
Yeah, man, that was huge. It was tough. It was doing everything that I worked for. I felt like was kind of like finally coming to fruition. My summer leading up to summer league, I wish it would have been a little bit better. Because I felt like I had a lot of expectations just for the year I had, my senior year. So I felt like a lot of like myself and other teams that were like potentially looking at me thought like my year that summer for me was going to be like the one to take off where I could potentially sneak in like a second round maybe or something like that. And some things didn't work out that way, but just being able to be in that position anyway, having a chance to play for the Lakers summer league team, it was something that I was definitely happy for, that I prayed for. And I think at the end of the day, it all worked itself out to where I'm supposed to be now.
Yeah. Once you finish up your summer league and now it's time to pick a team, did you have any NBA offers or did you decide like, man, I'm just gonna go get this bag and go overseas?
I had some, exhibit tens, but for me, I just wasn't really trying to play in the G League if I didn't have to. Um, and it's like eventually most people anyway they go to the G League and then they go to the G League and then they try to go overseas and they struggle overseas because it's different basketball. And two, some of them go from the G League to potentially an even lower level in Europe because they haven't made a resume yet in Europe for them to like, be able to make the jump. Unless you're in the NBA already or like you had like a 10-day contract in the league and then you're playing in the G League. So like European teams will like give you more respect. But like, I wanted to come over into Europe to at least start on my resume. Whereas that if I was to potentially get an NBA calling, then I can go. And if I want to come back to Europe, I still have a resume built where people can look at it and be like, okay, we can respect this, and I can still come up to the level that I ended at, or come go to a higher level. So I definitely just chose to go somewhere where I just could go play too. I didn't want to just be sitting on anyone's G League bench either. So choosing the Euro route for me was, I think, a business decision as far as mentally being happy and being able to just play, and also physically just going out there and doing the best that I can.
First league was where?
In Greece.
Okay.
So yeah, my first year I was in Greece. I played with Lavrio, and that that whole year I think I stayed until April, and then I went to Germany for a month.
And was that experience, well, how was that experience? Because now you said you went to UConn because you want your family to be able to come to games and you grew
Mhm.
up, so family oriented. How was that being away from home and not being different time zones, not being able to call whenever you want?
Yeah, no, it was definitely tough. Before I left, I even cried with my parents before I left because that was just like my first time. Like, don't get me wrong, I've been away from my parents, obviously being in college and going places by myself. But like now I'm in a whole different time zone by myself. Like you said, can't really call when I want to. It has to be at a specific time. Um, it was definitely tough at first, but like I think having some like teammates that I knew already, the Americans, it made it that much easier. And then, once the hooping came, like once you start playing, it's like, all right, now I'm just hooping. I'm good now. Like it's the jitters are away. Like I'm finally getting into a routine schedule where I know when to call. Um, and it helped though. My parents did actually come to visit for like a weekend. And my fiance now that I'm dealing with, she came a couple times. So like just being able to have, some familiar faces around me, definitely helped throughout the year. But it was tough at first, a tough adjustment for sure, I would say, but it definitely helped.
Yeah, I can understand, man. It's rough because you've been around these certain people for your whole life, right? And you
Hmm.
call, you know the schedule, and now it's like, man, y'all calling, and it's 3 in the morning. When it
In the
first
morning,
started, it's 3 in the morning for you, and it's
yeah,
you're like, oh man, like you want to answer, but you tired, you got a game the next day, whatever, you got to get to.
yeah.
But it's definitely an adjustment. But after after you get done with Germany and you see yourself climbing the ranks, you land with your team Writers. How did that come about, and what made you end up signing with them?
Um, I don't know. I guess too, like I just feel like for some reason like there's another calling, right? Because it was just like even my team, we would watch film when I was in Greece, and two of the teams that were in Greece were in what they call Basketball Champions League, and Regis is actually a Basketball Champions League team, and I just kept seeing like this red and black team every single time on video, and I'm just like, this team looks familiar, you know? And then for some reason, after the season was over, I just was like, my agent would give me teams, and I was just like, "Yo, what about Rios? Like, is anything going on with them?" And they were like, "Actually, yeah, they've been, calling. They're trying to see what you want to do." And I was just like, "Shit, whatever it is, I'm trying to go there. Like, I'm trying to go play for Rios. I don't know why it was, I don't know why I kept like going back to them, but I was like, I'm trying to go there. Um, and my agents, figured out the contract situation with them, and it was like a mutual agreement of them wanting me to come and me wanting to go there. So yeah, I mean that's ultimately what that decision came down to me just wanting to be there, and obviously them, returning the favor and wanting me as well. And I'm just happy that we were able to get it done.
You guys end up winning the championship last year, right? 2024. And
Hmm.
can you talk a little bit about that experience? I know the crowds overseas are way different than America. They're
Crazy.
crazy there, man.
No, man, that was dope. We actually played one of the what they would call one of the best teams in Europe because they're a EuroLeague team, Žalgiris. And obviously they were probably the best team in Lithuania for like the last couple of years. I think 21 Readers had just won. So like for the last maybe two years, they've been winning back-to-back championships. So like it was a lot riding on that game, and it's a rivalry game. So it's like the Lakers and Celtics, So but it was like European style, so it's way crazier.
Right, right, right.
Um, and that experience was crazy. I mean, like game one, we stole game one at their place. Came back home, was able to win game two. So now we're up 2-0 in a 5 game series. Where all we have to do is win one more. We go back to their place for game three, and the opportunity to win was there. Didn't work out, but like it wasn't a situation where we're going to the locker room where like everyone's upset, like head down, like it's like, all right, we're good. Like game four, we're going back to the crib, packed house, like familiar environment, like we know what time it is. Game four comes down, basically back and forth all game. Gets to the end of the game, we're down one. Marcus Foster, it's like a go ahead layup, 8 seconds left. They get a wide open shot. So we go up one. They get a wide open shot from the same guy who just hit like four in a row before. He gets a wide open shot. We miscommunication on like a switch, wide open shot. And it's like watching the ball go in the air, and it's like, damn, same dude has been killing us. It's
Yeah.
about to fucking end the game, and potentially we go to game 5, we're not going to win because it's at their place. He missed. We get the rebound, run on the other floor, throw the ball in the air. Game, fucking everybody around the court. Like, bro, I was like so much emotions. Like ran through everybody. Like we had a tough year. Everyone like in health wise, like injuries, like everything. It was just like a long year for everyone. We were in basketball champions league. We lost in basketball champions league in January. So now we're just playing from only the Lithuanian league from January to June. And that's like, man, we're playing one game a week. Shit sucks. It's fucking terrible. So like it was just all worth it, you know. It was a huge experience to be able to win my first championship in Europe, to be a part of that. Like now we're etched in history forever, you know. So it was definitely a party, I will say. It was definitely fans storming the court. Even after, it was an amazing experience for sure.
I could see some of the videos that you would post, some of the videos the team would post, man, they would just look insane, like a real, like just a great environment, you know. It looked like it was fun to be a part of. But now you back in, you signed with them again, and how's the season going right now with them? And I saw you guys were in the Euro League again. Do you guys, is it done now?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So we ended up losing. I forget how many weeks ago, but it was our last game for Champions League was March. At the end of March was our last game for Champions League. We had a chance to go to the top 8, but we folded that opportunity by losing to one of the teams where we had just blew out the week before, and we ended up playing them again, and they actually blew us out the fucking second time. And all we needed to do was win. So we folded the opportunity to them, and then we came back and we played another same team. We played again, not them, but like a different team. You know, that was in our pool. We had to play them again. Played them. We had just beat them by 20, and instead of just winning the game by 2, we lost to them. So that's our chances were done basically after that game. But it was a much better year than we did last year in Champions League. So you know, we did something a little bit better. Just obviously those small details is what didn't get us a chance to go to the top 8. But overall, we're still good. I think Champions League, I averaged like 15 a game this year, which where last year I was averaging like 8. I was struggling in Champions League. So I made a huge jump for myself individually. The team made a jump. We got to top 16 finally. Um, and then now we're in the LKL, which is our Lithuanian league. Where currently we just finished our third round yesterday. So currently we're sitting second place in the league we're 21-6. So we have 9 games left before the playoff starts in May. So we're in a good shape. You know, we're probably going to finish second. I don't think we have the opportunity to finish with first. So we're probably going to finish second again. And, you know, we have just as good as a chance that we did last year to win another championship. So I think, you know, with the team that we have, I think we'll be in good graces for sure.
Hopefully you guys can pull it out again, man. Back-to-back champions. That sound pretty good.
For sure, definitely for the resume. I need that definitely.
Like with building your resume, what is your end goal with as far as playing, and what do you feel like life after playing basketball will be?
So I mean, I'm only 25, right? So like, the goal is still to play in the NBA. That's not going to change for me. Obviously, it's going to get to a point where that window like continues to close. But like, I'm still 25, so I think it's still obtainable. Um, I just think I need to get to the point in Europe where I'm at a level where I can get a little bit more respect potentially, you know, to have an NBA team calling. So for Europe, my goal is to be playing in EuroLeague, which is the top level European competition. Obviously, they're now potentially talking about this what they call NBA Europe, which is NBA and FIBA together, but like not actual NBA teams playing, but it's just like different clubs. But then the NBA is going to have its own league, whatever. But EuroLeague is definitely where I'm trying to, you know, get to. And if I don't get to the NBA, I'm trying to stay in EuroLeague because that's the best basketball in Europe. And I do think that with my resume and with how I'm playing right now, and I do think I can get there. If not next year, the year after, or sometime during the season next year. But so like EuroLeague and the NBA are definitely high on my list, and I think I have the ability to get there for sure.
Mm. And so after your have you ever thought about setting yourself up for after playing? Or what would you be interested in?
Uh, yeah, I mean, for me, I think for me the biggest part of obviously I have my clothing brand. So right now that just even being able to do that right now, it's have that on the side, it's helping. To just build the direction where I want to go eventually. But also to just I think I'm someone that like loves to give back and obviously I see it even when I like train, my fiance's daughter or when I go back home and I train my nephew, like I just want to give them the same tools that I was given. So I probably eventually, if not, I really want to coach, right? I want to maybe get into college basketball or just have my own AAU team where I can give my nephew an outlet to go out and play, do his thing. Or if I don't coach, maybe just be a trainer or whatever, and and give people the same gifts that I was given. Um, because I feel like I have a lot of basketball knowledge and the basketball experience to get people where they want to go. Um, so definitely, but I would definitely lean towards coaching, just because I want to be able to have an impact, in a meaningful way and help others.
Well, man, thank you, man. We've been on here for about like 50 minutes, man. I appreciate you coming on and then
Sure.
sharing your journey, man. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank you for having me.